Okay, let's be honest. Have you ever wondered if all that time your kid spends glued to a screen could actually be a good thing? Well, we're about to dive into a fascinating new study that suggests the right kind of screen time, especially when you're part of it, could be an absolute game changer for learning. So let's get right into it.
We hear so much about the negatives of screen time, don't we? But what if we're looking at it all wrong? What if educational games could be a secret weapon for early childhood learning? That's the big question behind some really interesting new research.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about a challenge pretty much every parent faces. Then we'll look at a cool solution called gamification. We'll see how it worked in a real-world study in Jordan, uncover the surprising key to its success, and then wrap it all up with what this means for the future.
Now, to really get why this solution is so exciting, we first have to understand the problem. And believe me, it's a big one, something parents and teachers all over the world are dealing with every single day.
I mean, if you're a parent or a teacher, you know this struggle intimately. Trying to get little kids to focus on, say, their letters or numbers when there are a million other shiny things competing for their attention, yeah, it can feel pretty impossible. And that's exactly why educators are always on the hunt for better ways to make learning stick. So what's one of the most promising answers to this engagement problem? Well, it's a concept that basically hijacks something kids already love, playing games, and puts it to work for their education. Let's talk about gamification.
In a nutshell, gamification is all about taking the fun parts of games, things like scoring points, winning prizes, facing challenges, and applying them to stuff that isn't a game, like a math lesson. The whole idea is to make learning feel way less like a chore and a whole lot more like a fun adventure.
So what does this actually look like? Well, sure, you've got the obvious stuff like a little friendly competition or prizes to boost motivation. But you know what's really powerful here? That last one, giving kids a sense of control and choice. When they feel like they're in the driver's seat of their own learning, they get so much more invested in it.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, right? But the real question is, does it actually work out in the real world? To figure that out, a team of researchers went to Jordan to study early childhood education programs that were using these exact techniques.
They ended up surveying 120 teachers and 250 parents across both public and private schools. And they had two main goals. First, they wanted to measure just how engaged the kids were in these gamified classes. And second, they wanted to see how involved the parents were at home.
And the first result they got back was huge. On a scale that went up to 5.6, the average student engagement score was a 4.65. To put that in plain English, the kids were really into it. Gamification was absolutely working to capture their attention and keep them focused.
Next up, they looked at the parents. Here, the average score was a 3.90 out of 5. The researchers called this a moderate degree of involvement. So parents were definitely participating, but there was still some room to grow. So remember those two numbers, 4.65 for the kids and 3.90 for the parents.
And here's something I thought was just fantastic. This approach works pretty much everywhere. Yeah, kids in private schools were a tiny bit more engaged, but look at that score for public schools. It was also incredibly high. This proves that gamification isn't just some fancy tool for schools with big budgets. It has the potential to work for everyone.
Okay, this is where things get really cool. Because it's not just about those two separate numbers we saw, engaged kids and involved parents. It's about how they connect. And this is the most powerful finding from the whole study.
This was the million-dollar question for the researchers. Was it just a coincidence? You have engaged kids over here and involved parents over there? Or was there a real, provable link between the two?
And here it is, the big reveal. The data showed a clear, positive, and statistically significant link between parental involvement and student engagement. This number, 0.345, basically proves it. There's almost no chance this is a coincidence. This isn't just a random pattern. It is a real relationship.
And this quote just nails it. It's the key takeaway. There's a direct and powerful link. The more a parent gets involved, the more engaged that child becomes. It's like this amazing positive feedback loop. Parental involvement isn't just a nice to have. It's a force multiplier. It sends a huge signal to the kid that says, hey, this is important and it's fun and we're doing it together. It turns a solo activity into a shared adventure.
So, now that we know this, what do we do with it? What does this all mean for teachers, for the people making policy, and maybe most importantly, for parents, for you and me? Well, here's the new game plan. For educators, the message is loud and clear. Use the power of play. Build these fun, immersive worlds for kids to learn in. For policymakers, the evidence is pretty solid. It's time to get behind these methods and support them. But the real power-up, the real secret ingredient, that comes from the parents. Your engagement is the key that unlocks the whole thing.
Ultimately, what this study really tells us is that the best kind of learning isn't something that just happens in a classroom. It's a true partnership, a team effort between teachers, students, and parents. And maybe, just maybe, the best way to get everyone on the same team is to make it a game. Thanks for tuning in.